At 3 in the morning in Las Vegas, one mistake turned a loud party into a moment that shocked everyone in the room. John Wayne, America's toughest on-screen legend, wasn't looking for a fight. He was exhausted, in pain, and running on almost no sleep. Down the hall, Frank Sinatra was doing what he always did in Vegas, surrounded by music, laughter, and people who thought the night would never end. But what most fans never knew is that Wayne wasn't just angry that night. He was hanging on by a thread. One wrong move the next morning could have ended his career. Or worse. And when a bodyguard made a single careless decision, everything changed in seconds. No headlines. No police report. No public fallout. Just two powerful men, one closed hotel door, and a moment that quietly reshaped their relationship forever. And what happened years later, when they met again under very different circumstances, proves this wasn't just a Vegas scuffle. It was something much deeper. June 1966. Las Vegas was in full swing, and John Wayne was there for work, not pleasure. He was filming El Dorado, a major western with long days, brutal heat, and early call times that left no room for late nights. The studio knew it too. They rented out an entire floor of the Sands Hotel just to keep the cast and crew rested and on schedule. Wayne's suite was quiet, plain, and practical. That's how he lived. No crowds. No late nights. Just sleep, discipline, and preparation for whatever dangerous stunt came next. Directly below him, though, was a completely different world. Frank Sinatra wasn't filming anything. He was performing. 5 nights a week at the Copa Room, followed by after-hours parties that spilled deep into the morning. Showgirls, executives, laughter, piano music that never seemed to stop. In Vegas, Sinatra didn't follow rules. He was the rules. Earlier that evening, the two men had crossed paths in the hotel. No tension. No warmth either. Just a brief nod between professionals who lived in the same industry but in entirely different worlds. Different politics. Different lifestyles. Different ideas of control. And none of that mattered. Until the noise started seeping through the floor. What the music downstairs was drowning out wasn't just Wayne's patience. It was something far more serious. At 59 years old, John Wayne wasn't the unbreakable force audiences still believed he was. 2 years earlier, doctors had removed one of his lungs. Cancer had almost taken him out, and the scar across his chest was a constant reminder that his body no longer forgave mistakes. The next morning, he wasn't scheduled for an easy scene. It was a horsefall stunt in open desert heat pushing past 110. Miss the timing, lose control for half a second, and the consequences could be permanent. With one lung, there were no second chances. Rest wasn't optional. It was survival. Every vibration from the music sent pain through his chest. Exhaustion made it worse. His hands shook, not from fear, but from being pushed past his limit. He knew what happened to actors his age who got hurt on set. Careers didn't recover. Bodies didn't bounce back. And as the hours ticked closer to sunrise, one thought kept tightening in his mind. If he didn't get sleep soon, tomorrow could end everything. That's when he picked up the phone. The first call was calm, professional. Wayne gave his name, his room number, and a simple request. The music was too loud. Could they turn it down? The line went quiet, then dead. No apology. No argument. Just silence. Minutes passed. Nothing changed. The bass still rattled the floor. Laughter cut through the walls. Wayne tried again. This time, whoever answered sounded amused. Music blaring in the background, voices shouting over each other. The suggestion came casually. Maybe Wayne should come downstairs, have a drink, enjoy himself. His jaw tightened. He didn't want a drink. He wanted sleep. The tone shifted. The voice grew colder. It was a private party. If Wayne had a problem, he could call the front desk. The line clicked off again. Wayne stared at the phone, feeling the pressure building in his chest. He did call the front desk. Apologies followed. Promises were made. Someone would handle it. 10 minutes went by. The noise didn't fade. It got louder. That's when Wayne understood something that changed everything. No one in that hotel was going to shut down Frank Sinatra's party. And once that thought settled in, the decision became simple. Wayne didn't pace. He didn't shout. He didn't make another call. Something settled in him, quiet and final. He pulled on his pants, slipped into his shoes, left his shirt untucked, and stepped into the hallway. No jacket. No entourage. Just him. The elevator sat at the far end of the floor, slow and useless. He took the stairs instead. One flight down. Each step pulled air from his chest. Adrenaline did the rest. The music grew louder with every step, spilling into the hallway like it was alive. Suite 312 sat at the end of the hall. Light leaked from under the door. Voices overlapped. Glass clinked. Someone laughed too loudly. Wayne raised his fist and knocked. Hard. Nothing changed. He knocked again. Harder. The music kept going. On the third knock, the door finally opened. A bodyguard filled the doorway. Big. Confident. Dressed sharp. But relaxed. He recognized Wayne instantly. Everyone did. But this was Frank Sinatra's party, and it was 3 in the morning. His tone was polite, almost amused. Maybe tomorrow would be a better time. Wayne stepped forward. The bodyguard moved with him and placed a hand on Wayne's chest. Not rough. Not aggressive. Just enough to stop him. And in that moment, the night crossed a line it couldn't come back from. It happened fast. No warning. No build-up. Wayne's hand came up in a sharp backhand and caught the bodyguard across the jaw. The sound cut through the music like a gunshot. The man's head snapped sideways, his balance vanished, and he went down hard in the hallway. Shock hit before pain. Eyes wide. Blood at his lip. Wayne didn't linger. He stepped over him, grabbed a chair from the hallway, and set it across the man's body. Not to hurt him, just to keep him still. Stay down. Then Wayne walked into the suite. Inside, everything stopped. Music cut off mid-note. Conversations froze. Glasses hovered in the air. 8. Maybe 10 people stood there, suddenly silent, trying to process why John Wayne was standing in the middle of Frank Sinatra's party at 3 in the morning. Sinatra was at the piano, one hand still on the keys, the other holding a drink he'd forgotten to sip. For a moment, he just stared, confused, stunned, caught off guard in a way he wasn't used to. Wayne stood there, sleeves rolled up, face flushed, breathing heavy. Not from the punch, but from what it had taken to get there. 5 seconds passed. Then Wayne spoke. Quiet. Controlled. I called 3 times, Frank. And just like that, the party was over. No one laughed. No one argued. Wayne didn't raise his voice, but he didn't need to. He stepped closer, eyes locked on Sinatra, and laid out the reality he'd been pushed to the edge of. He told him his age. Told him about the stunt waiting in just a few hours. Told him about the desert heat and the risk that came with missing a mark when your body couldn't recover like it used to. He didn't dramatize it. He didn't beg. He just stated facts. The room felt smaller with every word. Sinatra set his glass down on the piano, slow and deliberate. The guests backed away without being told. One woman grabbed her purse. Another followed. The men avoided eye contact, drifting toward the door like they suddenly remembered early mornings of their own. Wayne turned toward the hallway and told the bodyguard to get up. His voice softened. He said the man had done his job. No hard feelings. The bodyguard nodded, jaw swelling, and disappeared without a word. Within seconds, the suite emptied itself. No shouting. No threats. Just the quiet understanding that the night had gone too far. When the door finally closed, only 2 men remained, standing in a room that felt nothing like a party anymore. And that's when the moment shifted again. The silence between them wasn't hostile. It was heavy. The kind that comes when both men realize they've crossed a line, and learn something because of it. Sinatra sat down at the piano bench, suddenly looking older than he had minutes earlier. He spoke first. Said Wayne didn't have to hit his guy like that. Wayne didn't argue. He simply said the hand on his chest changed things. Sinatra nodded. He understood. For the first time that night, there was no audience. No egos to perform for. Just 2 men who'd spent decades being the toughest person in every room, now standing in one that didn't care who they were. Sinatra poured 2 drinks and offered one. Wayne shook his head. He needed sleep, not a truce wrapped in whiskey. Sinatra didn't push it. He told Wayne to get some rest. Wayne turned to leave. At the door, Sinatra looked up and said it, half serious, half impressed. "Good punch." Wayne paused, just long enough for the corner of his mouth to twitch. Then he walked out, leaving the suite in total silence. But that wasn't the end of what that night would take from him. The hotel stayed quiet after that. No music. No laughter bleeding through the floor. Wayne finally lay down and slept, but only for a few hours. At sunrise, he was already up, showered, and heading out to the desert like nothing had happened. On set, no one mentioned Vegas. Makeup covered the dark circles under his eyes. The stunt came fast. A horse fall, hard ground, no margin for error. On the first take, Wayne hit the dirt wrong. Too hard. The crew rushed in. He waved them off like it was nothing. They reset. The second take was perfect, but it took everything he had. His chest burned. The scar pulled tight. He spent the rest of the day running on fumes, slipping into brief moments of sleep whenever the cameras stopped rolling. Years passed. 13 of them. In a quiet hospital room, Wayne was dying. Cancer again. This time there was no recovery. One afternoon, Frank Sinatra walked in. Older. Slower. No entourage. Just him. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. The Vegas night came up, lightly, almost with humor. Regret mixed with respect. Two men acknowledging they'd both been wrong, and both understood why. When Sinatra stood to leave, they shook hands longer than necessary. They both knew what it meant. The punch was remembered. But more than that, so was the moment two legends finally saw each other clearly. That night in Vegas was never about noise, or ego, or even a punch. It was about limits. About what happens when pride meets exhaustion, and when two men who'd spent their lives being untouchable finally realized they weren't anymore. John Wayne didn't walk down that hallway looking for a fight. He walked down knowing tomorrow could take everything from him if he wasn't careful. Frank Sinatra didn't mean to push things that far, but he did. And for a brief moment, reality cut through the smoke, the music, and the myth surrounding both of them. There were no headlines the next day. No scandal. Just a quiet understanding that carried all the way to a hospital room years later, when words mattered less than respect. So here's the real question. What would you have done? Would you have let it go? Or knocked on the door yourself? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more untold stories about legends like John Wayne, the moments Hollywood never advertised, make sure you're subscribed. These are the stories that remind us why they don't make them the same anymore.